Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk About Worship Lifestyle, where we have real and relatable conversation about raw truth found in the Bible on our call to worship as believers. This is the fifth episode of Let's Talk About Worship Lifestyle. And in this season, we've been focusing on Christian parenting and worship lifestyle. The title of our conversation tonight is Parenting Styles and Their Effect on Children. So I can see people are joining me now. You are all welcome. Welcome. If you don't mind, share this link. Let people know that we are here on talking about parenting styles and their effect on children. You are welcome. Welcome, and I hope you are going to let your loved ones know that we are here on talking about Christian parenting, focusing today on parenting styles and their effect on children. And what we hope to do is to offer tips for Christian parents to the goal of to help them to reach their goals. So you are welcome. Okay. I just heard that the voice is echoing, and yeah, I'm going to try to change things and see what will happen, but I hope you are hearing me. From my side, I think everything seems okay, but yeah, I'm depending on you to let me know if you can hear me or if you're not able to hear me. You are all welcome. I'm just trying to check what I can hear from my phone to really know what you can say. But if you don't mind, let me know. Let me know if you can hear me, if everything is all right. I will depend on you for feedback. Do let me know. As you can imagine, what we are here to do is to talk about these parenting styles in order to offer tips for Christian parents so that they can reach their goal. And the goal of these sessions that we've been having, this is part 5, like I said before, is to encourage parenting in the lifestyle of worship by equipping parents to fulfill the Great Commission at home. And the aim of this session is to offer ideas on how to portray worship and the God of worship, so that, in fact, I'm focusing more on the transmission process of worship so that your children will grow up not just knowing about God, but they will worship the God they know. That is why we are here talking about Christian parenting worship lifestyle, focusing on how our parenting style can affect our children, both positively and negatively. So I am still here. Thank you. Inspiration by Maria. Welcome. Thank you. I can see you, my sister. Welcome. Thank you, Natasha TV. Joycey, thank you for joining me. There's a lot of people here already. I am super, super happy that you are joining me. Thank you and welcome. I'm going to go ahead and ask you. There will be time for Q&A, and we'll be bringing some people up if you would like to join us here. And I will ask you, I've prepared my questions for my guests, and I hope you're going to pay attention in order to prepare your guests. You are able prepare your own questions so that you are able to join in during the conversation, especially during the Q&A. Yeah, you will agree with me that raising children is different than it used to be, and every mother and father is different and has their different needs. Despite the fact that we are more knowledgeable, we have more resources, and there is technology to help us to do this parenting, but the truth is that many parents are letting, our judgment and biblical principle, like kind of letting go of this our judgment. Sometimes it's because of the fear of criticism. You will agree with me that we live in a culture of criticism. So people don't want to be criticized. People don't want to be blamed. So they will decide to be maybe reluctant in their duty and, just to stay there and watch out. But what we want to do here, I'm already like going to encourage you, despite the fact that we have many all these resources, there is a lot of problems, and there is things that we definitely need to address, especially from the biblical perspective. Maybe you find yourself really asking whether you are a good parent, or you're questioning your parenting styles based on rough day or things that are happening, occurring every day. But the fact that you are here, or even concerned about whether you are making the right parenting choices, is a good sign that you are not, in fact, a bad parent. And above all, the grace of God is sufficient to you. That's one thing I really want to encourage you before my guest will join me. So, the most effective way to lead your children to really follow your faith is for you to keep making the changes if need be. So tonight, I want us to really be able to check and evaluate our parenting styles in order to know if there are things we need to change. That's what we hope to really for you to gain from this session. So if you want to know why your parenting style is very important, or you are wondering whether the Bible has something to say about different parenting styles that we have, this video and this conversation is for you. So I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned and join us in this important conversation. What are the parenting styles found in the Bible? We are going to be reviewing them, and I hope you'll be blessed. And I know definitely for sure you are in for a treat. So I have a few questions for my guests. So I want to remind you there will be a chance for Q&A. Write down your question in the comment section. If you would like to come on, there will be time for me to share the link so that somebody can join us on this platform if you prefer to speak, not to type. So there will be the time for that. So I want you to stay tuned, really. Without further ado, I'm going to invite my guest tonight to join me. So tonight, I'm going to invite my guest. Hello.
Hello, Jane. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. And you?
Really good, really good, really excited. Thank you for the invite to join you on this discussion. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, to please kindly introduce yourself to our viewers.
Sorry, Jane. I think the connection, I lost the connection there. Can you just repeat what you said?
Okay, I want you to please kindly introduce yourself to our viewers.
Okay, okay, that's great. Yeah, my name is Oye. Well, Omoluye Oyediran Awijobi. Do I not know my own name? That is funny. No, my name is Omoluye Awijobi. Okay, I'm a wife, a daughter, a mother of 4 amazing young men. My children range from my eldest is 27 and my youngest is 15. And yes, I love children. I'm a second career teacher. So I left my job a few years ago and retrained to become a secondary school teacher. I never thought I'd be a secondary school teacher, but here we are. I went to an open evening at a school, heard the announcement about retraining to become a teacher. And funny enough, that's how Jane and that's how we met. It was during the interview for
That
training to
fateful
become a
day.
teacher that we met. Yes, that fateful day. But it's wonderful because God meant for us to meet that day. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we could that's a topic for another day, but just that's who I am. I am a wife, a daughter, a mother, a lover. I love children. I love education, and I'm highly blessed to be able to combine those two loves together. When you have a love for something, it gives you heartache as well, but it gives you joy. And hopefully, I've got more joys than heartache. So that is who I am.
Thank you so much for that brief introduction, because definitely you haven't even talked about your career and how you joined teaching, because we don't have the time. Thank you for keeping it really brief. You can agree with me that, like I mentioned before, we live in a culture of blame. Many parents are now becoming really reluctant to accept responsibility because of fear of criticism, because of fear of the state and people, like people criticizing your approach or your parenting styles. And I think it is important for Christian parents to really rethink our parenting styles in order to know
Definitely.
if our styles of parenting is biblical or not. And I think we need
Mhm.
to use biblical principle to determine our parenting decisions. So that is why I want you to help me to understand parenting styles and their effects
Okay.
for our children. So,
Okay.
what
Okay.
are the types of parenting styles there are? What what type of parenting styles can we find, really? Let's start from there.
Okay. All right, brilliant. Great question, Jane. A really great question to start with. And I think just coming off that question with another question, okay, would be, people might think to themselves, do I actually have a parenting style? Because it might even be something that we haven't thought about, okay? But if we look at if we look at the psychologists, they have categorized parenting styles. And what we're going to do tonight is just look at those styles that have been categorized. So this is not us reworking anything, recategorizing anything.
Greetings
This
and
is us
welcome to it.
utilizing tools that are already in place. But what we want to aim tonight is to look at those categories that the psychologists have put in place. And because we are Christians, the Bible is our source, okay?
Yeah.
And then being able to look at those categories and see, can we find them in the Bible? What effect do those styles have on people, on our Bible heroes and people who've walked this path before us? And then try and match them, see which of the parenting styles is best for us. Are we always one or the other? And I think that's the plan. So there's a video that we're going to use tonight. It's from a
Introductory
psychologist, and what we
psychology.
just
This
do
one is on, not
is do that.
surprisingly,
Okay,
Okay,
I'm going to start.
parenting
brilliant.
styles. Now, researchers have divided up the various ways that we here in the United States, anyway. I can't say that this is necessarily cross-cultural, but how people in the United States parent, and they've managed to come up with a couple of different categories. Now, these may look somewhat familiar. I also want to point out that when I'm talking about how children turn out when raised by these particular styles, that it's not a guarantee that you can have children raised in really poor styles that turn out as well as vice versa. So the first parenting style, and luckily these are also named after exactly what they are, is called authoritarian. Now, someone who's an authoritarian is like a supreme ruler. They are a king or a queen, and oftentimes it has overtone of tyrant to it. Now, authoritarian parents have rules, and these rules are rules. There is no breaking, no bending, no kidding, no nothing, okay? You stick to the rules or else. You don't stick to the rules, the odds are bad things are going to happen to you. Children are not to speak to parents except when told to jump, they may ask how high. I mean, it's like being raised in boot camp, in that there's no questioning, there's no disobeying. If you disobey, you're likely to be punished very swiftly and often very severely. Follow the rules or else, in other words. And the problem with this kind of parenting, if this is the style of parenting that children are exposed to by one or both or all parents, is that the kids don't tend to turn out very well. These children, when they grow up, tend to be very self-absorbed. They tend to be only worried about themselves. They can't necessarily worry about other people. Now, in boot camp, what happens is military recruits are often kind of broken down so that they can be built up as a unit. They're broken down as individuals and built up to think of themselves as part of a unit. You don't get that in authoritarian parenting. You just get people getting broken down. And so they have a tendency to be very worried about themselves and what happens to them, and probably not too much what happens to other people. They also have higher rates of substance abuse, which makes sense when you think about it, because if you're terrified that if you do the slightest thing wrong, that the wrath of God is going to fall upon your head, that could pretty much lead anybody to want to escape for a while. And that's also true of these people. People who grow up with authoritarian are often afraid to do anything. A side effect of punishment is actually learned helplessness, where people become terrified that, or animals become terrified that any movement they make can result in something bad happening because they don't understand what's happening, or they don't know what they're doing wrong or what. And you can also get that here. Now, the violence often comes from the fact that authoritarian parents tend to use physical punishment, such as spankings, which may escalate to beatings. There's a fine line often between the two. There's quite a bit of evidence that suggests that children who are raised with physical punishment, such as spankings, particularly regular spankings, are more likely themselves to be violent. Because if you think about it, it makes sense. If a child, thinks, the child could wind up thinking to him or herself, well, when I don't do what daddy says or mommy says, they hit me. So if little Susie doesn't do what I want, I can smack her. And so we do have a tendency to see more violence here. And you got to admit that makes sense, particularly if you're like 8 years old. So yeah, authoritarian parenting alone is really not a very good thing. Now, the opposite, the polar opposite of authoritarian parenting is permissive parenting. And with permissive parenting, it is...
Let me know when you want me to stop. Do you want to go through all of them? Because I think I should ask you questions so that other people can finish us, can join us.
Okay.
So I would like to know, I will still put her name there so that people will know that we are reacting to Dr. Lisa. She have mentioned the first parenting style.
So we're pausing now.
Yes. I want you to take it one by one so that we are able to really follow this parenting style.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you questions before we continue.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm asking you, she just mentioned one type of parenting. What are the general characteristics and what are the effects?
Okay. So the first category that Dr. Lisa just mentioned now is called authoritarian. Okay. And as she said, it's the meaning is in the word itself. This type of parent has all authority. Okay. The child has no voice. They are seen and they are not heard. Okay. It's obedience at all cost. The child basically is just there to obey the rules and the regulations of the parent. Okay, they've got rigid rules. They're strict. It's boot camp style, is what Dr. Fassbender is how she phrases it. So it's like you're in a boot camp. You don't when you're. I mean, I don't. For those of us who went to university in Nigeria, we go to youth to National Youth Service. And you have the drills by the army. You don't question them. You just do what you've been asked to do. If they say jump, you say, how high, sir? Okay, that is the authoritarian parent. So the child has no say. They do not have, and they just have to follow instructions as laid down by the parent. So that's the authoritarian parent.
Wow. Okay, let's continue.
It's pretty much the opposite. There are no rules. There are no guidelines. Children can do whatever they want. Children are not punished for what they do wrong. There are no consequences for their behaviors. And they are often, they can do whatever they want. They do something bad, very often the parent will wind up cleaning it up. Unfortunately, we see a lot of this type of parenting these days. We've there's a pendulum swing, and it goes from the authoritarian my way or the highway, and now it's swung over to the permissive because a lot of parents don't want to punish their children, don't want to give them rules because it might squelch their growth and their creativity and whatnot. Although I got to tell you, teachers hate these kids. Hate them. Because the teacher does not like to be the first person to tell this child no, or to tell this child that there are rules that need to be followed. Because I can tell you right now that when that child goes home and talks to the parent is going to come down on both feet on the teacher. How dare you tell my child no? How dare you dare my child to get it? Well, your child is disrupting the class. If you were a better teacher, then they wouldn't be, and so forth. It's not a pleasant thing. There's two ways to be permissive. Neither of them are very good, but one is a little better than the others. Permissive indulgent. And with permissive indulgent, children have no rules, they have no guidelines, but their parents do indeed love them, parent or parents. They know that they are loved by their parent or parents. even though, and they're not given any rules or whatnot. So this one is okay. The kids are still holy terrors when they get to school, but at least the children grow up knowing that, someone loves them. Permissive indifferent parenting, on the other hand, children may have everything that they want or everything they need, but what they don't get is their parents. They don't get attention, they don't get love and affection and communication and such with the parents. And sometimes the parents are literally not around. Now, neither of these tend to turn out well, although permissive indulgent turns out a little bit better than permissive indifferent, because permissive indulgent children at least know that their parents do love them. These children tend to be very dependent because they tend to be given everything that they want. All they have to do is ask for it, or scream for it, or throw a tantrum for it, and they get whatever they want. So they don't learn that in the real world you usually have to work for things that you want. So they're dependent, they're immature, they don't understand the word no, they often don't understand the words not now, you have to wait, they don't want to wait, they've never had to wait, and so they misbehave because they have simply never run into rules and regulations before. And you could still run into adults that behave something like this. Rules are for other people, regulations are not for me, I get whatever I want, sort of thing. Not particularly pleasant. Now, the third parent.
Wow, this is so informative. And where can we find that type of parenting in the Can we find this type of parenting in the Bible? Can we find?
Okay. Do we want to?
Okay, go ahead. Tell me.
Do we want to let's yeah. Sorry. So let's go back to the before we look at permissive parenting style, the authoritarian parent in the Bible, an example. Okay, because I think we missed that before we moved over to permissive. So what do we learn from the Bible, okay, about this type of parent? What example do we have? We have the example of the life of King Saul. Okay, King Saul was a very, very angry man. Okay, he was a threatening, vindictive man. He was harsh, not just in his treatment to his own kids, but to David. So David was there, and he was there as a child. Okay, and his treatment towards David was really harsh, really violent, really vindictive towards towards David. And Jonathan, who was King Saul's son, he had a love for David. He had a good friendship with David, but his father had no respect for that. And Jonathan ended up losing respect for his father as well. So because of the way King Saul was, in him being an authoritarian, being strict and just had rigid rules and just a threatening lifestyle, a really angry man, we find that he lost his relationship with his son as well. Okay, and that the Bible story there can be found in 1 Samuel in the Bible, the Old Testament in the Bible. If the listeners want to go and because I think it's really important not just to take what we're saying tonight as that's it, but to go back and dig into the Bible and read about these people. I don't like calling them Bible characters because it sounds like they're fictional. Go and read about these people and find out the effect of the choices that they made, so that it informs our decisions and informs what we do and helps us to make better decisions. Because if we don't learn from those who've gone before us, we'll make the same mistakes and progress isn't being made.
Wow.
I'm going to move over to permissive, okay, because we've listened to what Dr. Forsberg has to say about permissive. So permissive is the polar opposite, as she said, okay. So we have the authoritarian, who's like, it's my way or the highway, and they have the permissives that, I want to be your best friend, just do whatever do whatever suits you. You want this, you can have this, you want that. If you scream hard enough, in fact, you don't even have to scream, you don't have to shout, you can have it. But then permissive is split into permissive indulgent and permissive indifferent. Permissive indulgent shows at least some love, okay, but there's still no rules, no guidelines for this child. So the child is really ruling the home. And I can't see how that can be beneficial for anyone. And then you have the permissive indifference, where the child is ignored. It's essentially an absent parent. Okay, they're permissive because they're actually not there, so they're not able to impact and give any and give anything into put into their child's life. And then bringing that over to the Bible. Who do we know in the Bible who kind of had this sort of parenting style? We go to our dear priest Eli. Okay, we look in the Old Testament again. We look at Eli. He was a permissive parent. Eli did a great job. He was a priest. He was the one who heard from God and spoke the mind of God to his people. But his boys were unruly. They unruly is actually putting it mildly. Okay, Eli's example in the Bible proves to us that the fact that we know the truth of the scripture is not enough. It doesn't mean that we automatically become amazing parents. Eli was not. He knew God's word. He spoke God's word to the people of Israel, but in his home, the word of God wasn't being lived out. It was almost as if he felt like he'd be mean to his boys by correcting them. So he had there are examples in First Samuel as well, where he talks to the boys, but they paid him no mind. They did not listen to anything he said. And if we all know how that story ended, it didn't end well for Eli or for his boys. So that's an example of permissive indulgence. So he did care for his boys, but there were no guidelines. He had no guidelines to help his boys live a life that was worthy of their calling. Permissive indifference, an example would be my beloved King David. Okay, David, for all the love I have for him, there's some Bible stories that we read, and you think, David, come on, why are you not doing anything about this? Adonijah was there. He refused to discipline him. He just did nothing. David, he also refused to deal with Absalom for killing his brother. So there were chinks in his armor for all that David did. And we know that David is a man after God's heart. So there's no taking away from him. But when we look at some of his parenting styles, it leaves a little bit to be desired. So those are examples for authoritarian and for permissive indulgence and permissive indifference.
Wow. So I'm going to continue.
Style of the fourth, depending on how
yes.
you're counting, it's a combination actually of those first major two. I call it the traditional parenting style because when you think back of how at least we think that children are raised in the 50s and 60s and whatnot, in the good old days, as you or your parents may call them, although things were not necessarily that good then either, it's just that we don't remember them. There was still drug use, there was still divorce, there was still adultery, all the things that we're doing now we were doing then. We just simply didn't publicize them nearly as much as we do now. But I digress. So if you go back and you look at TV shows and movies and stuff from that time, generally what you see is that the mother is very nurturing and the father is the disciplinarian. So what we're looking at there is a combination of one authoritarian parent and one permissive indulgent parent. It's the wait till your father gets home, or, when your dad gets home, you're going to be in trouble, or you want to do something, ask mom, she'll give in to anything sort of thing. Now, kids who are raised by this sort of traditional parenting turn out pretty good. Because as it turns out, children, as much as they may protest otherwise, like rules. They like to know what to expect. They like to know what is expected of them. They like to know that when they do this, this is going to happen. Kids actually kind of like that, as do adults. It's kind of weird to be someplace where there are no rules. At first it's fun, but eventually it gets a little weird. These kids turn out pretty well because they are getting guidance, which is good, and they're getting love, which is also good. The first two, you either get guidance or love, and sometimes you don't even get that. Okay, you don't get all of those together at the same time. So these kids turn out pretty good. Because the thing is, though, a lot of times they wind up, for instance, maybe even being afraid of their father, or respecting the father but not loving him because they're afraid of him. And mother often is thought of as being kind of a doormat. So there may not be a whole lot of respect here, but kids turn out pretty good. Now, studies have found that the best style of parenting is also not surprisingly the hardest, at least in part because I suspect an awful lot of us were not raised this way. It's called authoritative, and I apologize for the name that is so close to authoritarian, but I didn't name the darn thing. Authoritative parenting combines both guidance and rules along with love and affection in the same package. There are indeed rules that children are expected to follow. But, for instance, if the child thinks that there is a good reason for something, the child can talk to the parent. Parents listen to children. Parents talk with children, not just to them or at them, like you see with authoritarian or permissive, where the talk basically means nothing. So if a child can, for instance, explain why it's a good reason that the child should be allowed to stay out an hour or two later one night, for instance, and the reason is a good reason, not something like, well, because everyone else is, then authoritative parents will listen, and they may give in. They can bend the rules. They can alter them as the children age. They're not rigid and inflexible like the authoritarian parent. Now, they do punish. This is not to say that authoritative parents don't punish. They do. It's just that oftentimes they're not perhaps as quick to punish as the authoritarians are. But one thing that the authoritative has that authoritarian doesn't is love and affection. Permissive parents give love and affection, but they don't give the guidance. And children want both. Children understand that they are loved and that they are that they are worthy. And they also gain self-esteem by being able, for instance, to communicate with adults, to talk with them, to plead their peace, to let them know, well, yes, I believe I should be allowed to do this because, and so forth and so on. Kids get off on that, and it's really good training for them to be able to do that, to be able to plead their own case. Kids raised with authoritative parenting tend to turn out really quite good because they've learned to communicate, they've learned to feel good about themselves, they've learned to not be doormats, they've learned not just to demand but to have reasons, they've learned that they can't always get what they want. Just because a child comes up with what seems like a good argument doesn't mean the parents will automatically give in authoritative. So this is where you tend to get the best outcomes. But this is extremely difficult. And there are times probably that it can't be done. If your child is running out into traffic, your 4-year-old's playing in the street and it's a busy street, you're not necessarily want to go out and try to reason with them. You're going to go out and get to them. So it does have to be geared toward the age of the child. But generally, authoritative parenting has been found in studies to give the best results in terms of well-adjusted kids and well-adjusted adults.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there we go.
So the authoritative parent is the parenting style we should kind of aspire to have in our homes. It seems like from her explanation, but where can we find this in the Bible?
Sorry, Jane, can you just say that again?
I said it seems like the authoritative parent is the kind of parenting style we should all aspire to have in our homes. And I'm asking, if it is the good one, where can we find example like that in the Bible?
Okay. Can I take us back just one? Because there's another example that I think is worthy, and it's one that reminds me of my grandmother, actually, of blessed memory. It's the example of Isaac and Rebecca in the Bible. Okay. Isaac loved Esau and Rebecca loved Jacob. And if we go back into the book of Genesis and read the story, the life story of this family, we know how it ended. Okay. We know that Rebecca ended up helping Jacob trick Isaac into blessing Jacob instead of Esau, and how all of that ended, Jacob having to run away from home because his brother came back and was angry. And that's where you've got where parents aren't in agreement in the style, in their parenting style. Okay. And that's why it's really important, especially, we know that there's families where we've got single parents, but if there's two parents there, then there has to be cohesion, there has to be an agreement. And even when you've got single parent families as well, you've got other adults that are investing in the children's lives. There has to be an agreement so that you're all working towards the same goal of raising up children that can stand in society, children that you'll be proud to call your own, children that would be able to live out their God ordained life and not just going from pillar to post without any aim, any ambition in life. So that's why I think with the traditional parenting style, where you have one parent who's authoritarian and the other one who's permissive, there's going to be clashes, because the children as well the children are smart. They will know how to play one off on the other, and they'll think, right, if I go and talk to the permissive parent, I'll get away and I'll just avoid the authoritarian parent, and I'll obey the rules while they're there, but once their back is turned, I'll do whatever I want, because my permissive parent is going to allow me do whatever I want. And that isn't healthy for the child. It's not helping them, and it's not helping the family structure itself. So that's the traditional. Now the authoritative. Okay, this is the one, as you rightly said, Jane, is the one that we should all be aspiring to. Okay, and we won't get it right every single time, but if at least that is our aim, then we know that we're headed in the right direction. Our eyes are focused on the target, and we can make sure that we get to it. So the authoritative parent provides, just recap what Dr. Fassbender shared, provides a firm and consistent guidance combined with love and affection. And that is the key thing, that everything we do, the decisions we make as parents have to come from a place of love. It has to come from a place of love and affection for our children. The children that we have are a gift. They are a blessing from God. And when somebody gives you a gift, you look after it, okay? You care for it, but most importantly, you go to the manufacturer for advice. You don't seek advice anywhere else, because you would just be testing and trying things that are not going to work. You go to the manufacturer for help. And who's our creator? It's God the Father. So he's the one that we need to go to get advice, because each child is created. We're all individuals, even twins that are born within minutes or hours of each other have different personalities. They have different bends. Okay. The only one who knows them is the one who created them. We are stewards. And to be good stewards, we need to go to the manufacturer. If you buy a new washing machine, my mum bought a new washing machine not too long ago, and I had to read the manual. I could have just gone press some buttons. Okay, it might work, but is it working as the manufacturer expects, as the manufacturer built it? No, not if I'm just pressing buttons on trial and error. And if we bring that same analogy into our lives as parents, then we must say, who has given us these children? If we acknowledge that it is God, then he's the one we need to go to, and not say, right, because this parenting style or this way of handling this situation worked with child number one, I'm going to try on child number two. We will fall flat on our face. Okay, so we need to go to the maker. We need to go to Father God. He is the author. He's the one who's blessed us with these amazing gifts, and he's the one we need to go to. So the authoritative parent, that parenting style, is the one we should be aspiring to. Okay, it is that balance of love and affection, that everything we do comes from a even when we're correcting our children, it has to come from a place of love and affection. And a really good example, I think the best example from the Bible has to be Solomon, King Solomon. Okay. So after King Solomon, he grew up with an uninvolved father. However, Solomon reverses the direction in his own life. So if we read the book of Proverbs in the Bible, the Old Testament, we will see how Solomon wrote extensively concerning the love and discipline of children. And that, I think, by reading through Proverbs, we get a lot of nuggets, we get a lot of advice on how to go about parenting. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that is the one, that's a parenting style that we should aspire to. It's the one that, yeah, it's
So,
the one that guides the child.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you've really made a very important point. We'll come on that. And I just, initially I said to the people, if you want to come up and intervene. So I already have one person that wants to intervene. So I'm going to ask her, she wants to intervene about authoritative parents. So Sister Diane, go for it. And then we continue.
Okay.
Oh, she's unmute yourself.
She's muted. Yeah.
Sorry. Hello, my name is Diana Bomboko. I'm a single mom of 3, a girl, 2 boys of 20. My oldest will be 24, 22, and the youngest one just turned 16. I just wanted to intervene for the authoritative parents because I believe I'm into that. I kind of before that thought that I was more into traditional, but I'm more into the last one because as much as sometimes I'm hard as a single parent, I tend also to go into affection and love. And I tend to, by doing that, I'm also, it's true, sometimes I like this example where I give some room, some room to the children. Sometimes they will give the reason, that they will make a point. It's not that they don't disagree with me, but they will make a point. And sometimes it happens that by making their point, I'll come to agree with them. But I still remain firm into the values, such as principles, truth, and honesty, all those basics. And also, of course, faith in God. Because I always have to somehow, in some instances, to remind them, for example, from where we came from up to now, and to have faith. I know my oldest one, my daughter, she's really into it. My son, the second one, the 22, is a very straight, very he relies a lot on principle, very honest, very responsible for a 22-year-old. But yet, when it comes to faith, because of the upbringing, and I guess maybe from while he was growing up, and when I divorced from the father and everything, and sometimes some example, because we went back home, and his faith was kind of shaken, because he will believe that, okay, we pray, some people will keep on praying, but they don't get results. Or you will see some people, you believe into God, but yet you don't really do something. So that's the way it was like, well, Mom, sometimes I wonder, I don't know if I should believe into that, because I see some people, they pray, but they don't, they situation, or they don't want to go beyond that, because it will be like, instead of me doing the effort, oh no, I know God will do it. The African way. So this is just a parenthesis. So I don't force him. This is where the dialogue, we talk. I cannot force him. I know deep down of him, he believed in God. But what I instill into them is, like I said earlier, faith, be grateful. You look into yourself. Don't I always tell them, I said, especially my younger one, for example, I say, you believe in God, but don't take things for granted. And also, always think about tomorrow. Don't look down onto someone. We don't know about tomorrow. always be good, because you don't know that the person you tend to look down on him, it will be that person that tomorrow will be the one that maybe will come to you and help. So God first, and believe into the principle and
Thank
dialogue.
you so much, sister. Thank you so much for intervening, and I hope you will do come up again. So I'm going to ask my guest speaker to continue. And what I want to ask you, since we have seen the one that we should all aspire to actually aspire to be in our home, like the authoritative parent is the parenting style we should aspire to have in our home. And you have already explained it from the Bible. I want you to explain a little bit for us, really, why parenting styles matters. Why are we talking about parenting styles? Does parenting behavior determine child's behavior?
Okay. Thank you, Jane. So I think with well, not I think, I know that it's I am someone who doesn't like labels. Okay. However, I think if we just go into the world and just do things on the off chance, oh, maybe I'll get it right, and if it's not right, well, we'll just carry on. Is there a delay? Okay, sorry. Yeah. So if we don't have goals, and I say this to my sons, if we don't set goals, we'll hit nothing. Okay. The kids that we have are too precious for us to just go on, oh, we'll just trial and error. We can't do that. They are too precious for us to go on the back of trial and error, and or we'll see how it works. If you don't get it right, what are you going to do? We can't turn back the hand of time. So it is too precious a responsibility for us to just do it willy-nilly. We need to be intentional in our parenting, and that's why it's important for us to reflect and assess, conduct a self-assessment on ourselves and how we are raising the next generation. Are we raising children that will be assertive, children that will be caring, children that would be able to take the baton from us and run a better race than we have run? Or are we raising children that are self-centered, self-indulgent? It's all about me, myself, and I, and then we wonder what happens. Are we raising children in such a way that, okay, the state says don't do this, oh, therefore I'm not going to do that? What happens when these children are then roaming the street at 10:30, 11:30, they're at the corner shop being destructive? It's this same state that's going to come knocking on your door and say, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, we've caught your son doing this and being in society. But yeah, it's this same state that stops you, okay, or that try to stop you from raising your child in the way that God has asked us to. So we need to make that decision as parents. Do I want to create a rod for my own back, or do I want to raise a child that in my old age, I will be able to sit back and bless the Lord for the work that he's done? So it's really important. And I think I was going to say, especially in the Western world, but I think wherever we are, because the Western culture has infiltrated the whole world. Okay. So we need to be mindful that we are straight down the line and we are doing what God has called us to do. What are we raising? What sort of children are we raising? Are we raising kids that are going to destroy our old age, or are we raising children that will turn around and bless us and say, Mom, thank you. Thank you for those times that you didn't let me go out late at night. Thank you for those times when you told me you can't do that, you can't have that, or I'm taking this off you because that's a consequence for what you've done. Children are smart. I am thankful that I was raised. I am still being raised. Okay. even in this, at this point in my life, still being raised by a mother that cares so deeply for me. My father has gone on to glory, but when dad was here, he as well. I knew that everything he did came from a place of love. And the same thing with my mother. Till now, I know that everything she does for me comes, oh, I'm going to start crying. Okay, I need to not cry. Okay. I know that everything she does for me comes from a place of love. And even now, if I get things wrong, she'll tell me. And I might be all at that time, but I know that I go back and I think about it, I think, you know what? Mom's right. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's really important that we conduct a it's about us assessing ourselves. But we've got the best, we've got the maker to go to. There are a few points, Jane. I just want to, because I'm conscious of time, and it's thank you for everyone who's stayed on this far. But just
Can
looking,
I tell them something?
I know we've looked at those 4. Yeah, of course you can, Jane. Sorry, go.
Oh, just to let you know, I have shared the link for if you want to join us and want to intervene. So the link is on the chart. So what is going to happen is if you want to intervene, I can bring you up. But remember, there will be time for Q&A. If you prefer to type your question on the comment section, do well to actually ask any question you have as we are going on. At some point, we are going to have the Q&A. But if you don't want to type, you prefer to intervene by speaking to us like Sister Diane do click on the link and I'm going to welcome you at some point. Okay, thank you so much. And you've already made like a very important point concerning the effect of bad parenting. And one of the things I want to also comment is children without positive parenting. It seems like from what you've said that children without positive parenting are more at risk of their own relationship, kind of like getting into troubles, even with themselves, like health-wise, like anxiety, depression, kind of like aggressiveness, among other negative outcomes if they have actually bad parenting style. And looking at it, my question is, how does culture affect parenting styles?
Wow, that's Jane. To be honest, that is a whole nother chapter and verse sort of question. It is because so we're both of Nigerian descent, okay?
Yeah.
So we have the Nigerian culture, and we know how we were raised. Can we honestly expect to raise our children who are born in the UK the way we were raised? I think we can. Okay, we probably can't be as affect the way we raise our kids. But I think, and this is from what my husband and myself have done and continue to do with our boys, is they know their Nigerianness and they are proudly Nigerian. Okay. They're proudly Nigerian, and therefore they know that there are times when the way we we approach issues will be different from the way their friends, parents might approach issues. But because we've been consistent, both my husband and myself have been consistent in this way with all our boys. They don't even blink an eye. They don't blink. They don't bat an eyelid. It's like, okay, yeah, this is what we do, because we are of Nigerian descent. I mean, there are times when we jokingly I say to them, and I'm like, I remember an incident where my 2 older ones they were still at secondary school then. They're both finished uni and working now, and it was a stressful time, and it was like, oh my goodness, teenage boys and this, that, and everything. And I thought, that's it. This summer, you're going to Nigeria. You're going to Nigeria. And for me, that was me punishing them. That was meant to be a threat and a punishment. And I said it in the moment thinking, right, yes, I've got my message home. They won't do that again. No more headaches. And I'd forgotten about it. A few weeks, I was just almost before the summer holiday. Our second son then came to me, oh, Mom, yeah, so what's happening with that trip to Nigeria? I looked at him like, what? That was meant to be punishment. That was a threat.
I can imagine.
It's
You
not a
haven't bought any
holiday. I
tickets.
was threatening you. Exactly. So, but because with our kids, we share stories of how we were raised and consequences and all of that. So they know the stories, and they know, and I think behind those stories is that there's a fine line here. If I don't toe the line, the wrath of the Nigerian parents might come out. So I think culture is important. I think culture is important not just in parenting, but in lifestyle, in the way we worship God, in the way we go about everything we do. Culture is important, and if it's important in any other aspects of our life, then it surely has to be important in the way we raise our kids. And I think we need to be open with our kids and say, look, where we come from, this is not done. You don't do this. My boys, especially with, because we're that girlfriend and all of this business stage with a few of them, and because obviously back home you don't refer to your friends' parents by first name. So my kids' friends, when the girls come here, they daren't call me by my first name. We're not doing that. But that's a cultural thing, and that's because my boys know, and they will tell their girls before they get here, don't be calling my mom or my dad Yinka. That we're not doing that, okay? If that happens, then we know that this is not a long relationship. This is not going to go far, okay? So, but anyway, so culture is important because I'm proudly Nigerian, for good or for bad, and my boys know that, and that's going to be going down through the lines to the generations to come.
I like what somebody said on the chat. Somebody said, inspiration by Maria says some cultures really interfere negatively with parental styles. Absolutely, I agree with you. And really in line with what we are saying concerning if people are already depending on our parenting styles, most times
Jane, I don't know if you can hear me because I can't hear anything. It might be my side.
Oh, maybe it's me. Can you hear me now? Sorry, people, let me know if you can hear me, but for me, I'm speaking. Okay, let me see. Okay, Stadian said she can hear me. Yeah. So what can we do? Let me go ahead and assume you will hear me. To the other question I want to ask you is, what can we do in order to stop bad parenting when we perceive that there should be a change? We definitely need to make some adjustment. What are the things that we need to do in order to stop being
I can hear you now. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I think she's a little bit delayed. Sister Diane, do you want to come up? Okay, feel free at this point. Feel free at this point if you want to if you have any question to my guest, or if you really want to comment on anything. What I want to remind you is the moment I've shared the link already, let me know, because if you want to type your question, go ahead. Thank you, Sister Sisi. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everybody. I mean, I can't go around doing the name calling, but I'm seeing everybody, and I appreciate your time. It's been a very, very lovely conversation going on here. And I want you to know that why we are talking about this is so that we have to rethink our parenting styles, because what we want is the best for our children. Remember, as parents, we have we have this mandate to really train our children. And according to the Bible, we have the responsibility. We parents are the most influential factors in the faith formation of their children, and our children are always watching us. What we are doing is really important because they are watching us. So our parenting style is as well really important because kids are watching us, and we are kind of role models to them.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
we have really adopted the bad parenting style, as we saw from the explanation of Dr. Lisa Fender, then it means we definitely have to rethink about this, because we have already seen not just a psychologist talking about these parenting styles. We have listened to my guest, like, talking about the effects of these parenting styles. And it has been also been traced from the Bible to already see from the biblical heroes what happened to Eli's children, also Saul with King Solomon. So it's something we've already mentioned, and I'm not going to go over and over again, but I'm just saying, remember, if you have any question, this is the time to type it in, or if you want to really join us here to the stage, feel free to click on the link in order to join us in this important conversation. And I'm still going to be sharing out the links as well, so that you can join us. So I don't know if you can hear me now. I know there
Yeah,
was a
I can. Yeah.
glitch. Yeah, my question is, what can
Yeah.
we do to stop bad parenting styles if we discover that there's something that needs amendment? Are there practical steps, practical things you can definitely recommend?
So I think the main thing is for us to, we're human, and each day we're blessed with has not been, we've not gone down that road before. Okay, so we need to allow ourselves that being an authoritative parent is not achievable 100% of the time. But I think the main thing is, if we just stop before we make decisions, stop and think. Okay, just give ourselves, even if it's a second, 2 seconds, think before we make those calls, before we do. Obviously, if a child is in danger, you're not stopping your straight away to get our child out of danger. However, when it comes to advising and raising and knowing how best to raise our children, do not go with popular culture. That will be my first thing, is do not let popular culture be what advises, what guides the way you raise your child.
Yeah.
Okay? Really important that we speak to Father God, not anybody else, but talk to God about each individual child, because each child is different. What worked for child number one won't necessarily work for the twins. What worked for one twin won't necessarily work for the other twin. So as I said, in the same way as when you buy a new machinery and you read the manual before you operate it, and as you operate, and there are times when you operate, you've had a gadget for a while, and you're thinking, oh, how do I do this? I know it's supposed to do this. You go back to the instruction manual. And our instruction manual as Christians is the Bible. That's where we get our help from. That's where we get encouragement from. And also, if there are others who've got older children, who you can see examples of what you desire for your child, then speak to them. Speak honestly to them about what they're doing. What practical steps are they taking? You asked about practical steps, and I was talking to my sister. We were chatting. I say talking. We were messaging each other earlier today, and I said I literally take each day as it comes, but with God's guidance. I love my boys round the world 1,000 times and back, but for each one, they know where the line is. And I say to them, there are times when, if we're messing about, I say, I'm not your friend, I'm your mother. And there is a fine line, between that friendship and I love them dearly. I would do anything for them. But at the same time, when they need telling off, I tell them, even my 27-year-old son, and he's 6 foot something. And I say to them, you know who's boss. So, but the love and the respect is there. The love and the respect but it's mutual. It's a mutual love and respect. And if and when they cross the line, I let them know. I let them know in love. If I need to raise my voice, I do that. But it comes from a place of love. But I always check myself that, are you telling this child off because you're tired? Are you telling this child off because you've had a horrible day at school and you've come back and you're taking out the year 8 frustrations on your family? Okay. So I think for us is to be sure that we are always self-evaluating, always running through, what have I done? And if we get it wrong, we apologize to the kids. We apologize to them, but letting them know what we did wrong and why, if that happens again next time, this is how we'll handle it. Okay. They respect us better. It doesn't make us permissive. That is not us going into permissive territory. No, that is us we're still in charge. Okay, we're still in charge, but we are letting them know that their voice matters and their thoughts and reactions matter to us. And if we get it wrong, which we will from time to time, we let them know. Yeah. So I think that's really important that we're able to do that, and just so that we make sure that each of our children become effective instruments in society. Okay. Not defective, effective instruments in society and in God's hands.
Okay, Speaking Grace TV have a question for you, and she said that you should can you advise couples with different parenting styles, even after discussing, some people don't come into agreement? What do you have to say about this?
Okay, that's a great question, and it's a hard one, because that issue needs to be resolved from within the parents. And if they need to seek advice, I would suggest they do. Because I think what is really harmful is when our children know that we're not in agreement. It doesn't help. I've walked that path. Trust me. When if there's a decision my husband has made, and I think, oh, that's too strict, and if the boys catch on that I'm that way inclined, oh my goodness, it's not. I have done it not once, not twice. I've done it several times, and each time I think, why did you do that again? Did you not learn the last time? It's not good. But what I've done as I've got older and wiser is I straight away pick myself up and say, mm-mm. So even in my head, if I'm like, oh, but I don't agree with what my husband said, I think that's too harsh, it doesn't show on my face. The boys they will think, oh my goodness, mom and dad are together on this, so I've just got to do it. Yeah. And then what I then do is later go and speak to my husband. Come on now. Why, and then try and batter a bit for the kids and think, oh, come on, let's do this. But if he still insists on like, no, this is this and everything, that would go on. So it's usually for us, and I can only use myself and my relationship with my husband and our sons as an example, would be when that happens, and even when my husband's like, no, it's my way or the highway in this situation. But when I then intervene away from the children, it must be away from them. It can't be where they hear you. Okay. And even at the point, it might seem like, no, he's not going to back down. So it could be, right, that's it. You're not going out. You're not allowed out. You go to school, you come back, and that's it. Up in your room for a week. By day 2, my husband will then go into the room and say, right, okay, you can go downstairs, or just, come down. We're watching this together. And then, so that sanction is lifted and minimized. But the kids would not know that it's because, mom didn't agree, or dad did not agree with what mom said, or there was a clash there. It has to be away from them. So my advice would be that the parents need to resolve it, but away from the children. And if you need to be, it has to be united front. I don't see any other way. So it has to be a united front away from the children. The children have to see that you are in unison.
Very well said. And another person also made a point in the chat I want to raise before I would then ask another question. So what we've done now is we've already started our Q&A. Like I said, if you prefer to come up and talk instead of typing, I have already shared the link, and I'll be sharing it again so that you can really come up and share your thoughts or ask your questions if you want to. I've shared the link now. Just click on it if you want to come and speak to us. But let me go ahead and really read what the comment I saw on the chat, which is really important. He said, yes, there is a distinction that need to be made, need to be maintained, especially as they grow older. We can be their friend and confident, but still their parents, still in charge. So it's also echoing the first point you've already made about not just being their friends and trying to please them, but rather trying to let them understand you are in charge and there is line that need to be crossed. Being specific, knowing, that doesn't mean you don't love them according to what you've said, which I definitely agree with you. You still have to love them, but still need to know when is the right time to make that decision that is going to help them eventually. I think that's really a very important point. Another question we have here is from Inspiration by Maria. And she said, how do we deal with a child who is rebellious, even though they have authoritative parents or parents, vice versa? And let me say at this point, in as much as we are not focusing on discipline today, is going to be the one that we are going to do after 2 sessions from now. We are going to be specifically answering this question, except she wants to really address it at this point. But we are going to be continuing this session where we are going to talk about biblical perspective, about spanking, where we are going to be talking about alternative discipline styles. So we are going to be talking about strong-willed children, how to deal with them and how to win them over. Is going to be one of the sessions we are going to have subsequently. So Inspiration by Maria, she's going to try, but we want to really limit it to the parenting styles we've talked about today. So do you want to refer to this question, or should we take it to the next session?
I'll try. I will try. Because I'm thinking I'm trying, as I say, and I said this to Jane before when we were talking about the show and everything, that anything I have will be my story. I can't talk about anybody else. And I think when you've got a rebellious child or a rebellious
a strong-willed, really.
A strong-willed child, or even if it is rebellion, it is that it's getting to the bottom of what is causing that rebellion. What is because a strong-willed child is that sounds positive to me. Rebellious has a negative spin to it. Okay, and the thing is, we could have either or both. Okay, but I think it's about understanding. It's understanding, but being consistent, not letting up. We need to keep on at it, even if it looks like it's not working. Even if it looks like it's not working at the time, my faith, my trust is that we keep plowing, we keep putting into it, we keep feeding positive thought, not positive thoughts, but positive actions, positive strategies. If the child needs to be disciplined, they are still disciplined. We don't say, oh, because they're going to throw a tantrum, I'm going to just leave them. No, we're still authoritative with them, but it has to come from a place of love. And we need to spell it out to them that the reason I am investing all of this energy in you is because I love you. If I didn't care, I would just leave you. You are a child and not a slave. A slave you pay, or maybe you don't even pay, and they just do the things that have to be done. But a child, You love and you invest in their lives. And if they're going astray, you draw them back. You guide them back. Psalm 23 says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall
I
not
shall
want."
not
You've
want.
got the rod and the staff, okay? One is to guide you, one is to yank you back, okay? So if you're, I'm not going to let you, there's a cliff there. I'm not going to let you fall off, okay? So I think it's about, so Inspirational by Marie. I probably haven't done justice to your question, but just thinking of just off the cuff would be the parents need to be consistent. They just need to be consistent to break down that wall. Talking about breaking down walls, think about the wall of Jericho. The children of Israel went round 7 days. They kept going round. They kept going round. If people just thought, oh, what is this all about? We're just walking around walls. Nothing's going to happen. No. When the time was right, the wall came crumbling down. And if we have those same goals about our children, and about, it could take weeks, it could take years, but we need to remain consistent. And those walls of rebellion, those walls will come crumbling down. Okay, but we need to stay connected to the source. I can't say enough about that. We need to stay connected to the source, but keep being consistent in what we're doing, in how we're dealing with the children. Let's not get swayed by, oh, there's this new fad, there's this new way of doing this new. No, stay consistent with the word of God.
Thank you so much. Dr. Bumi says, correct, consistency is key. Thanks for the rod and the staff along analogy, which is really good. Maybe I should throw in some practical approach that might really be helpful, which is also really like important for the good parenting styles that we're talking about. One of them is listening to your child's thoughts and feelings is really important. They need to know we are listening to them because we're going to take action, especially for strong-willed child. Again, is provide appropriate consequences. It has to be related to what the problem was. You are not just going to say, oh, because you just smash or maybe accidentally have broken a glass cup or something, then you're going to take their iPad. It's not anything technology related. The consequences has to be related so that it will make sense. It will not just be you acting out of anger, but rather they are going to see it because they have done something. If you want to take their laptop or tablet or whatever it is, let it be that they are misusing it. They are going to understand it more, saying is because they have really didn't respect the rules of using whatever technology device it was. That's why it was taken from them, not just because they just had an accident. So we need to learn in our parenting style to provide appropriate consequences. And again, we don't have to label the behavior. That's one thing I want to say to Inspiration Maria and other people. If you have a strong-willed child or rebellious child, I hate that word really. That rebellious, I don't believe really much about it because I want us to be positive because there is power in the spoken words. So I will kind of stick to my strong will thing. And I'm going to say, label the behavior, not the child. They have behaved in a way that you don't really like. It's not them, it's the behavior should be the issue. So if parents want to label, they should make sure that it's about the behavior, the characteristics that they have shown, not really the child, so that they are able to look at it and say, oh, it's about what I've done, not about me. Because if they go with that negative thought in them, they will believe they are no good and they will keep misbehaving. That's what we see in school. You will agree with me. Some of those students that are always breaking the school non-negotiables, they are always the people. They are looking for attention, even if it is the negative one, it's fine for them. But the moment they start receiving positive attention, the moment they are able to distinguish from their bad behavior to their personality, like if you know, you can agree with me, if you want to kill some of those with love, you're going to say, I definitely know 99% you are a very, very smart and kind person. They will go, you will see the hard guy or the rebellious guy, you see the soft spot is about being positive with them. So what I'm going
Yeah.
to say is label the behavior, not the child, so that they are able to see
child,
what you're
definitely.
telling them is about their behavior, and then they will try to withdraw from that bad behavior, and they will know that they are accepted as a person, as an individual. And again, don't withhold attention. Don't withhold attention. No matter what they have done, they need attention, because what they are craving for, why they were behaving mostly, is either power or attention. If you withhold attention, it's going to escalate. They are going to be more rebellious. Their strong will is going to go to the end until you give them the attention they need. So yeah, we have to show love and affection. If you allow me, I will go on and on and on.
Yeah.
And I know I like this conversation. As you can already see, I'm really passionate about it,
Yeah.
because what we are doing is to make sure we rethink our parenting styles, because what we are looking for is to help everybody that will listen or listening to us at this point, or those that will listen on demand. We want to be able to help you with all these ideas, having this conversation, in order for you to really win or get to your parenting goal, that goal that you have set, and the mandate that has been given to us as a parent. The Bible says we should train up a child the way they should go, so that when they grow, they will not depart from it. It is a goal. It is a very difficult one. Most times we wonder if we can ever get it right. We've all been there. Every other day, things are coming up, like we can just have rough day kids, not just like following the routines. That kind of freaks me out. But most times I have to like keep calming myself to show more love and affection, because I'm a human being. So displaying love and affection means more than just telling your kids you love them. I mean, it has also come, it should come from that supporting and accepting the child for who they are. You definitely know there is an issue. Me and my kids were like, I think we are working on obedience. Do you agree with me? We need to work on obedience. They will go, yes. What are we going to do? It should come from them. They will suggest, you know. So make sure you spot out what it is you need to work on. They should know they require improvement on a particular thing, one at a time. Is a journey. It's not something we can solve in one day. We are not offering this parenting style or looking at them for you to think, oh, you are going to just be authoritarian parent, even if it doesn't suit your personality. What we are saying is for you to see the characteristics and the effect of being an authoritative parent, and then try to apply it, tailor it to your child and their uniqueness. That will definitely help them the more. Sister Diane want to intervene? Do you? Okay.
And I agree. I mean, all the points that were said is exact. I agree with them, so I'm fine.
Oh, thank you. Okay, because I was like, oh, I didn't saw that you were raising your hand. So yeah, we make mistakes and we will let them make mistakes. We have to definitely
Yeah.
agree. We make mistakes. Life is messy. So a lot of your children explore kind of being creative in a way that at the same time they will make terrible mistakes. Sometimes they don't think through everything they do. They just do it. So without shaming and criticizing them when they make mistakes, we need to really like try to listen to them when they make mistake and try to win over with love. So thank you so much for the whole time and the conversation. I'm just going to say, is there any, if there is any question, keep it coming, but we are going to be closing. So I'm going to say, if there is any final thought, anything you want to say before we close, this is the opportunity to give us your final thoughts. If there are practical things you definitely want to share with us, this is the time, and we'll be going very soon.
Okay, Jane, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone who's tuned in. This has been really, really great. It's been lovely talking about being a parent and, being a child as well, because I've shared with you some of my things that I went through. But I think just to close off on, we've had several examples from Bible heroes that have gone on before us. But we call God, we call him Father. So that means he's a parent. Surely Okay, so let's just to finish my part of the discussion. I just want to look at just a little bit, okay, at God's parenting style. He's a father who loves you and wants a relationship with you. He's a father who communicates clear boundaries for us to follow as his child. He's not controlling, he's not manipulative, he's not overprotective either, because he gives us that freedom to make our choices in life. He's a father who loves us. He's a good, good
Father.
to forgive. He's willing to receive us as we are. Okay, we don't need to change our clothes. We don't need to put on our Sunday best. He accepts us just the way we are. But he's a father who disciplines. He will correct us when we're wrong, when we've disobeyed, when we rebel against him. But he models truth. He models truth. He models a brilliant example. He reveals his heart to us. Father, he's an encouraging father, and he comforts us in a way that gives us that joy. He's protective of us. He wraps his arms around us. He sends his angels there to guide our steps. He sent his son to die for us. He provides for us, for our every need, our spiritual needs, our physical needs. He is a provider. And he assures us of our place in heaven with him. Can we match that parenting style? But that is the goal. And I think if we set ourselves great goals, if we have such an inspirational father to look up to, how can we go wrong? We will get it wrong, but we've still got that. We need to just keep that goal in sight, not lose sight of our Father God, and keep working, keep striving to be the best parent that he's called us to be, so that our children will bless us at the gates. Our children will be proud to say, this is my mother, this is my father, and welcome us into their lives as they grow up into adults. And yeah, I think just keeping God at the center of everything we do. And even when we stray, let's come back. Even when we stray, let us come back, because he is there waiting for us. And that's it, Jane.
Thank you so much. There have been a lot of points here by Dr. Bumi, and again by Blessing. There's a lot of things really, and honestly, we can't get through, because it will keep coming. We keep going on and on. But for me,
Yes.
my final thought, yes. But for me, my final thought is, being a parent. What I want you to take away from what we've already listened to from this conversation is for you to remember, being a parent is emotionally challenging. It is a blessing.
Yeah.
It comes with joy,
Yeah.
but is emotionally
Yeah.
challenging. And it is a
It
huge
is.
responsibility that requires patience, consistency,
Yeah.
love, compassion, and understanding. Even if you don't hear any other thing, I want you to remember this. And remember why you are here spending this time instead of doing something else during this weekend is because you're already a good parent. That's why you are here, and that's why you've given in this time. Or we have some women of faith that has been with us. Thank you, Sister Diane. Thank you so much, my guest. I mean, you have grown children already, and yet you allow us to leverage Titus 4 that says, let the older women encourage the younger ones to love their children and their husband. That's what you've just done now. That scripture has been fulfilled upon you alive this evening. Thank you for allowing God to use you to speak to us this evening. Thank you so much,
Thank
sister.
you
I
for
have
the
to really break
invitation,
you
Jane.
up.
Thank you.
Thank you for intervening. Thank you so much, my guest. I can't really, you know how I feel about you. I mean, you're my UK mom. Just I came the day of my interview of my training. I saw you only looking at you already. I was like, yeah, she's not going out. And you were really like, you've been such a blessing. I feel so blessed to know you. Thank you so much for having me as your child. I mean, I'm so like feeling like
Bless you.
I'm your daughter. Yet to meet my brothers very soon.
Yeah,
Thank you
I've got a
so
house
much,
full of boys, so I need a girl.
I'm here, body, soul, and
Thank
thank you so much. We have lovely people. I mean, thank you, Presido. Very interesting and lot to take back with. Thank you so much, Presido. You've been so supportive. Thank you, Inspiration by Maria. Thank you so much. Thank you, Doctor, for being with us. Thank you for coming in and staying till this time. Hey, my lovely friend. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Miss. She's my colleague in school. Thank you so much, Destiny. Oh, Speaking Grace, thank you. Speaking Grace says something really important. As an ROE teacher and a philosophy teacher, when I saw the free will thing, I was like, yeah, speaking the correct keywords. Well done for saying that, because God gave us the gift of free will to choose and to will. We have to remember the same kind of choice is also have been given to our children to choose. That's one thing we have to remember. Really important there. Thank you so much for blessing. I can't go round. If I haven't called you, please bear with me. Thank you, my sister Esiosa. Definitely, I know you are here. Thank you, everybody, for coming this evening. I
you.
feel so blessed that we had this conversation. Thank you so much.
God bless you all.
Bless you so much, sister. I'm going to end the
Bless
broadcast.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bless you.
Bye.
Okay.